Oh, you know what? I can move the lamp again. I just realized what I was catching on.
What's a podcast? I like your show.
How did I get here? Welcome to the Shipe Sports Show.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the Shipe Sports Talk Show. I am your host, Matthew Shipe, joined always by my awesome co-host and producer, Paul.
Howdy.
Love the sound effects there. And joining me also as one of my amazing co-hosts, Chris. Chris, what's up, buddy?
How's it going, everybody?
Good. Anthony is not able to join us tonight. He is out working at Universal Studios, enjoying the weather down in Florida.
Making a dollar.
While we all freeze our ass off up here in Maryland.
We are.
Chris, real quick, why don't you show the viewers what happened to yourself last night?
Oh, well, I wasn't gonna put it out there. I didn't want to flip the bird to anybody. I didn't want to flip the bird to anybody, you know what I mean? But my dog and I went for the leash at the same time, and he got my finger. Yeah, he won.
So what kind of dog do you have?
A Bernese Mountain Dog.
Oh,
so, hey, Mr. Shipe, how's it going?
Oh my lord! Over here scaring us.
Oh, they can't. Oh, too bad he can't see. We can't grab him. Yeah, tell him to come in. There he is.
There he is.
Hey,
ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Coach Shipe himself. Oh, look at those guns.
Gotta get him some entrance music.
Hi guys. Yeah. So Chris got in a tug of war with his dog and lost last night.
Yeah, but yeah, he's still a puppy. I mean, he's about, I think, 8 months right now.
Yeah, but
I was gonna say, when he stands up, you know, we're face to face, and he weighs about.
Are you serious?
I think 120.
Oh my god.
So, yeah, I mean, he's sitting on people's laps, like, you know, he still thinks he's a puppy, of course. So
that's ridiculous.
He's still playful, really, really playful.
That's
You gotta stop that. He's not a puppy anymore.
Yeah, he's not a puppy anymore. That's for sure.
So on the lineup for tonight, we're gonna do our final fantasy focus segment of the year. Afterwards, we're gonna talk some NFL playoffs, look at some scenarios we got going on, and then the big question: are the Redskins done? Me and Chris will dive into this last night's game against the Panthers. Wasn't too good, was it?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I missed basically the entire second half, but I did.
Hey, you didn't miss much.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I heard, but yeah, to top it all off, of course, we lost. So I was hoping at least if I went and got checked out, went to the hospital or whatever, and then when I came back, at least I'd come home to a W, but
it was a terrible game.
Not the case. All right, well, we'll get to it.
Yep, and then we're going to talk some college football. I have a little tweak to the college football playoff system that I'm going to discuss with Chris, and we'll see where it goes from there. Maybe we get to it. Maybe we'll talk some NFL top 10 quarterbacks real quick. See who we think should be in it and who shouldn't be in it. Get to that. So let's start off with our fantasy focus segment. This is our last segment of the year only because week 17, if you're still doing fantasy playoffs, there's something wrong with your commissioner because you don't know who's playing, who's not. And I'm sure Chris can agree. We used to be in a league where we had that. I mean, you really don't know who to play.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, really, if you think about it, Tom Brady probably won't play next week. So, I mean, that's a big guy out. You know, there's a bunch of teams who won't play players. I mean, really, I think if you're a fantasy commissioner and your league ends in week 17, you got to change it next year. Not telling you how to run your league, just saying it's only fair. And I think, Chris, as a commissioner, you can agree to that, can't you?
Yeah, that really shouldn't happen. Week 16 has to be the last week because, I mean, there's some teams that even week 16 would probably be resting players if, you know, like when Patriots went, 16-0? You know what I mean?
Well, they were going for it. No, it was who was it the one year where the Colts, when they were on the undefeated streak, they rested players even though they were undefeated.
That's right. You're right. It was the Colts.
It was the Colts.
But yeah, week 16 is pretty standard, I think.
It's like the one year where I won the championship. It was like Matt Flynn versus Matt Stafford because Rodgers sat out and Flynn. That's the game Flynn, blew up and everyone thought,
like 5 touchdowns and he got paid that day. Trust me, he
got paid, and then Russell Wilson took his job.
Yeah, which was crazy. A lot of people were like, "What? Do you pay this guy all this money and you're going to start this rookie?" And
now look at it.
Now here we are.
So let's get into our starters. First off, our studs and duds from last week. Usually we'll agree on this. So, Chris, who's your stud? And I'll let you know if I agree with that one.
Let's see. My stud would have to be Drew Brees.
Anthony also sent me a text, said the same stud, so we all agree. Drew Brees had a great day in fantasy.
Drew Brees really won most of my playoff games for me. Did help.
Guess who didn't use Drew Brees?
Yeah, Chris.
The guy I was playing against in the playoffs.
Yeah, who did he use instead?
He used Kirk Cousins.
Kirk Cousins, yeah.
Drew Brees had 30.36 fantasy points.
Yep. That was for me, he 4 touchdowns, I think 300 yards. It helped if you have one of his receivers like Michael Thomas or Willie Snead in a PPR situation.
Well, here's the problem that he had, our friend. He had Arizona's defense, so if you start one, the other one's not going to do. First off, let me ask you something, Commissioner. How does a team allow 48 points and still get 7 fantasy points? That shouldn't be allowed.
Sacks,
defensive
interceptions.
touchdown they had probably helped out a lot too.
Wait, are you talking about
Arizona?
Arizona, yeah,
They
yeah.
had
The sack fumble for a touchdown. That's 6
crap.
points, 5 points. I think 7 points, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's what it would be.
And I think a dud. I'll go with the dud. You tell me if you agree. I have 2. 1, Tom Brady. A lot of people, it's hard because I had Flacco against Philly, but it's almost like, how can you sit Tom? Last time he played Denver, he did have 3 touchdowns.
Yep.
This week, a little bit different, but somehow how can you sit Tom Brady? And also, my dumb self, I don't know if you consider him a dud. His first week back. I mean, can you say he was a dud?
Yeah.
I guess
because he only got, 1 or 2 points?
Also, I guess you can go with Sammy Watkins. Only 2 points against Cleveland's defense.
My dud was going to be Tyler Eifert. He's a arguably a top 5 tight end, all season long.
Can we say Jordan Reed was a dud?
There you go, that too.
There
he was hurt though. He was hurt.
He was hurt,
so
but you know what? He was still playing. He should not have. Let's save that.
Yeah, all right. Let's save that. But yeah, I mean, Tyler Eifert's someone you've been counting on ever since he came back from his injury, and he just put up a dud this week. He somewhat cost me in the playoffs in one of my work leagues. So him and Brandon Marshall, I forgot there was a Saturday game, and I didn't switch him out in time, and I lost by 4 points. So. And I had Frank Gore sitting on my bench for that flex spot.
Before we get to the stardom sit-ems, Chris, I'm going to have you show the viewers what a fantasy football championship belt like. This is the belt that Chris and our previous champion Jose picked out for our league this year, who in the finals are me and my cousin Jeff Paul. Me and him are playing for the championship.
Yep. You ready?
Nice.
So here it is. This is what a championship belt looks like.
There it is.
Wait.
It's got some nice weight to it.
No one else in the league has seen it.
Yeah, no one else. This is the first time it's being seen. Our last champion, Jose, picked it out. Last year we had a black leather belt with gold plating. This year we decided to switch it up. We got the white leather with silver plating, and it's really super nice. These belts are awesome.
I want the white one. It's amazing. It's
well,
coming home.
You're playing for it, so it could be yours.
It's awesome because you know what? It shows doesn't matter what seed you're in. If you make a run, you can make a run, and some luck involved.
Yep.
I got lucky last night. I was down 4. I had Deshaun going up against Cousins and Reed, and I said to myself, Kirk, just throw everything to Deshaun, and that's what he did. And I tell you what, that final drive they had, I was up 6, and I did the little calculations.
Yeah.
Long as he didn't score, I would have won. And as soon as Crowder fumbled that ball, I was, woo-wee, let's go. The 5 and 6 seed are in the championship.
Yep.
All
you got to do is get in. As long as you're in,
yep, that's
all that matters.
Say. And I started off 0-3, and look at that. Got in with the 5th seed.
Yep.
All right, let's go to our stardom sit-ems. Chris, I'll let you start with quarterback. I have Anthony's picks here as well.
Okay.
So,
I was going to say, if we don't have Anthony, then most likely we're not going to take each other's picks. But if
he sent them to me via text.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good. That's good. So my starter for quarterback this week is going to be, this is probably somebody that didn't get you into the playoffs, but he's owned in a lot of leagues, so he's most likely going to help you win a playoff game, and that's going to be Phillip Rivers against the Cleveland Browns. I mean, what more do you have to say than Phillip Rivers against the Cleveland Browns? I mean, I think they give up the most, if not the second most, fantasy points to quarterback, so they're really bad on defense.
Unless your name's Sammy Watkins, then you can't do crap.
Hey man, they were running the ball on him. That's what it
Yeah.
was. LaShawn McCoy got all the points
There's
there.
another
But
stud.
yeah, Phillip Rivers definitely is going to be my stardom this week. Oh, and my sit-em.
You sit him.
My bad. My sit-em this week. This is going to be a tough one, but I think Sam Bradford is going to be my sit-em this week against the divisional matchup against the Packers. I think the Packers defense is starting to emerge a little bit, starting to get pressure, create some turnovers. Granted, they were playing Chicago and Matt Barkley, but they definitely against showed the
well.
Packers, especially away from home. So definitely home game against Minnesota. I think the Green Bay Packers defense are going to be all over Sam Bradford,
All right,
especially
I'll go ahead and say
with their
I'll go
lack
ahead-
of running game still. So
Yep, I'll go ahead and say Anthony's, and he has Tom Brady to start this week against the Jets.
Yep.
Good rebound game, and everyone's like, "Oh, the Jets always play him." The Jets aren't that good this year.
Yeah.
I think Brady's gonna light it up, and hopefully for me in fantasy, he lights it up this year. Whoa, Paul, what is that?
what?
I don't know. Paul's going crazy over there.
That's funny.
I can't even hear him anymore.
There you go.
Oh,
You're
I'm back. Okay, sorry.
There we go.
All the numbers got all like anyway. They all got mixed. They got all mixed up.
Rest in peace, Palmer and Fernandez. While we're at it, and his sit-em this week is gonna be Tom Savage. His first start. Houston is playing Cincinnati. Not a really good matchup for him to start off in, so we'll see what happens there.
It's gonna be tough.
And my start for the week, Marcus Mariota against the Jacksonville Jaguars. The last time, we all went to BWW to watch the game, and he lit up the Jaguars secondary the last time they faced them.
That was Thursday night, wasn't it?
Yep, it was Thursday night.
Yeah, I remember that.
Sorry, BWB. Sorry, we all just met there. Apologies. And my sit-em this week is going to be Carson Palmer against Seattle's defense. They may have put up 41 points last week against a horrible New Orleans defense. Not going to happen this week. So start Mariota, sit Carson Palmer. Running backs. I'll let Anthony Pitt start him off, and he has as a start Elliott. Not even gonna butcher the first name.
Ezekiel.
Ezekiel.
Easy.
Elliott against Detroit Lions defense. What can you say? Rookie of the year, could be the MVP of the year. If you got him in the league, you got to start him. And his sit this week is actually Devontae Freeman.
Okay.
He's sitting Freeman against Carolina this week. Carolina came off with strong defensive performance against the Redskins. We'll see how they carry over against, Atlanta.
Mhm.
For me, my stardom this week, I'm gonna go with another. I'm going heavy Tennessee this week. The Titans, DeMarco Murray. Last time he played Jacksonville, he played 3 quarters, had 100 yards in 3 quarters of play before he went out with an injury, and he even went out a little bit before that. So a couple touchdown against them. A guy who has 100 yards in the first 3 quarters, how can you not start him again in the rematch? And my sit this week, Adrian Peterson. People picked him up a lot this week.
I did.
I did too. You
Last
saw
week,
I played him in 2 leagues. You can't trust him. Even though you're in the championship or possibly still in the semifinals,
Yeah.
can't trust the guy. I hate to say it, but AP, you should not play him this week. Chris, go ahead.
Well, for my stardom, I'm going to go to your team here, and I'm going to pick DeMarco Murray. Last week was kind of a weird game for him. I think Henry had 2 touchdowns. He vultured 2 touchdowns from him.
Yes, he did.
Which was kind of odd, but
Henry also had a good game as well in terms of
yeah, he
yardage.
did. Oh, 100%, he did, and it kind of helped me win against Chris in one of our leagues. But I think they're going to go back to the well. I think DeMarco Murray's too good against the Jacksonville defense that's just not playing to par right now. And for Sidham, that's going to be a tough one, but I'm going to go with, you got to go with Rob Kelly again. Coming off a really terrible performance this week, it's just hard to trust him. I know the matchup is probably a lot more favorable than it was this past week, but I still wouldn't trust him. I'm sure there's better options out there than Rob Kelly.
All right, now let's move on to wide receivers. I'll finally get to go first. I'm going to start Amari Cooper this week for the Oakland Raiders. It's him, that whole wide receiving core is up and down.
Right.
I like the matchup this week against the Colts. Obviously, they had a good week last week against the Vikings, but their defense is still horrible. It's still bad, so I'm going to go with Cooper having a rebound game. And my sit-em this week, if I'm sitting Carson, I'm going to sit Larry Fitzgerald. He's going to have to go against the Legion of Boom. I just don't think he's going to have a good game this year. I think good game this year. Good
This week?
game against them this week.
Right.
And I think Sherman's going to shut him down whenever he's on that side of the field. So that's what I'm going to go with. I'll move to Anthony. His term of the week is Odell Beckham. But what more can you say about this guy? The past couple of weeks, he's been lighting it up.
Yes.
That catch last week he made for the touchdown was incredible. And real quick, when did he start doing punt returns? Is this new? He should have had a punt return for a touchdown. It was called back, and I'm sitting there like, oh, another throwing touchdown. And Chris is like, it was a punt return. I'm like, when did he start doing this?
Yeah.
And then Anthony sit is Denarius Thomas going against Kansas City's defense. Now, the thing I say about this pick for Anthony is, and I wish he was here to talk about it, is Marcus Peters going to be playing because he went out early against Tennessee. And as soon as he went out, Tennessee started picking that secondary apart a little bit better. So I think that pick for Anthony, I wish he was on discuss it, all depends on Marcus Peters. Chris, your wide receivers?
For my start this week, I'm going to go with kind of a sneaky play. This is more of a sleeper play, I would say. Sorry, I had it up, but I was looking at running backs. My bad. I'm going to go with Emmanuel Sanders. So he had a pretty bad game this week, but if you look at his past like 4 games, it's pretty much off, on, and he had an off week this week against a really tough Patriots defense this week. But Kansas City, they do have a good defense, but in terms of the pass, they're susceptible to big plays in the passing game, and Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders could definitely go off this week, I think. In terms of sit-em, I'm going to have to go with my first-round pick, which probably is the reason why I ended up in last place in my league. It's going to be DeAndre Hopkins. He just really hasn't produced. Like you said, change of quarterback, now to Savage, against a relatively tough Cincinnati Bengals defense. He was peppered with targets last week, I think 16 or 17 targets, but he's not producing. Even with all the targets that he's getting, he's not producing. He's got 3 or 4 touchdowns this year. I don't see him getting one this week.
All right. So we move on to tight ends, and Chris, I'll let you start this one off first.
Tight ends. Well, I guess you're definitely not starting Jordan Reed. Hopefully he doesn't punch anybody in the face, but that's neither here nor there.
To talk about that later.
I'm just kidding. I'm going to have to go with probably one of the best tight ends in the league right now, and that's Travis Kelce. It's a tough matchup against Denver, but if he was on a different team, let's say Travis Kelce was on, I don't know, let's just say he was on the Patriots. Can you imagine how good he's got? Gronk-like speed, Gronk-like size, Gronk-like power. He's a go-to guy in the red zone. I think Travis Kelce is going to catch at least 1 touchdown this week. In terms of sit-em, I'm going to have to go with Coby Fleener. He's just been way too inconsistent to trust this year. And I think this week is more of the same. There's just way too many mouths to feed, I think, in the New Orleans offense. I think Coby Fleener is just way too down in the pecking order to really produce, especially in this critical week.
All right. For Anthony Stardom, he's going to start Cameron Brate from Tampa Bay against the horrible defense of the New Orleans Saints. And then for his sit-em, he agreed with you in sitting Coby Fleener.
Yeah.
I mean, it's I thought he would, we beginning the season, you talked about seemed like Brees' go-to guy, and it just wasn't.
Seemed like such a value pick, late in the rounds. It feels like
Brees just can't find his replacement for Jimmy Graham at all.
Yeah. And you never know. Maybe it just needs one more year to develop that chemistry. But definitely this year in championship week, you're not going to trust Coby Fleener.
Yeah. My start this week, I'm going to go with my last Tennessee player, Delaney Walker. Mm-hmm. It's so hard not to go against him because of how bad the Jaguars played against them in the first game, and that's what I'm going to go with. And every time these two teams meet up, it's high-scoring games. Last year was a high-scoring game. I think that's when Mariota had like the 80-something yard touchdown that went back and forth. I think the winner had like over 50 points. And my sit-em this week is going to be I don't know if he's hurt. Is Bennett still hurt for New England?
I mean, he's playing. He's playing through it.
I'm going to go with Bennett. I just think they're not utilizing the tight end with Gronk gone. You've said this for the past couple of weeks. He really hasn't got much looks. It's not going to change. I think Brady has more of a chemistry now with his receivers than his tight end. So I'm going to go with Bennett, sit him.
Yeah. and that's tough, especially in such a good matchup. But
Yep.
This week you have to go with surefire guys that are going to get you, especially at tight end, that are going to get you at least a touchdown or 60 yards, 70 yards, something like that. So you're going to trust, a Kelsey, you're going to trust a Greg Olsen, a Delaney Walker, Cameron Brate, even though he hasn't really. It's for Brate, he's either getting 6 or 7 catches for 60, 70 yards, or he's getting like 3 catches but a touchdown. So someone who's consistently getting you points, you got to start him over Fleener and Bennett.
Yeah. So, everyone watching, thank you for always joining us for our fantasy segment of the week. Now we got to basically wait another 9 months till we can do one again, till we do our draft live on air again. So, I mean, it's rough. This is the last week of fantasy. I know I have 2 meaningful games left, Chris. I don't know how many games you have left in fantasy that actually means something.
I'm in 3 championship games right now.
Okay, I'm in 3 as well.
No.
Yep.
So Paul is in the championship game for Shipe Sports Talk against Chris Pagan. So that's a good
Nice.
matchup right there, and they're pretty close for projection-wise. So
Yeah.
Paul, good luck. Bring it home for the show.
Yeah, I sure will.
Hopefully Paul brings it home.
I absolutely will.
So let's move on now. Let's talk some NFL playoffs. Let's see what we got. Let's look at the standings here. We got New England. They've wrapped up their division already.
Yep.
Hopefully Brady though still plays. I think they're still fighting for a first round bye, because I think if if Oakland wins out and Kansas City went out, they could still lose that first round bye. So please.
No, I think they've clinched.
They didn't clinch home field. That's what it was.
They clinched the home. They haven't clinched home field, but they've clinched the first round bye.
Good. Then they have to play
Yeah.
Brady.
Yeah. So now they're just trying to hold on to that 1 seed, basically.
Good. Play Brady. So
Yeah.
you got New England. That division's done. You have Oakland, who locked up a playoff spot this week with the win. They'll have the Nets. With the win, they'll have the Nets first round bye. What can you say about Oakland this year, man? That's awesome. Great young quarterback, Derek Carr. Great offense, a better defense. Tell you what, man, I'm kind of hoping for New England versus the Raiders in the playoffs, man. A rematch of the Tuck Rule game.
Oh man, what was I gonna say? I think this is the first playoff appearance for them in how many years? I think it's 14, 12,
I think
14,
since that
something.
Tuck Rule, wasn't it?
Well, basically, I remember seeing a meme. It was like Facebook was invented like 12 years ago, so this is the first time ever that there's Raiders in the playoffs memes or pictures in the history of Facebook. So
Good for them.
congratulations to all the Raiders fans, and that's a great young team. This is not going to be a one and done season.
No.
I
They'll
can
just keep
definitely
adding
see.
on, too.
The only problem is their division is so tough. That's the thing. They're going to make it to the playoffs again in the next few years for sure. Within the next few years, they're going to be going back. It's just a matter of can they win in their division, and so far right now it looks like they're doing it.
Yeah. Then let's go to the AFC North. You have Pittsburgh 9-5.
Yep.
You have the Ravens at 8-6. Ravens are fighting for a division and a wild card.
Yep.
They play Sunday at 4:30 on Christmas. What a better game you could ask for on Christmas. And
Oof.
pretty much the winner of that will end up winning the division. So basically,
Yeah.
the division title is on the line here for this game on Christmas. What a better atmosphere that you want in Baltimore.
Winner go home.
Is it in Baltimore?
Say that again.
Is it in Baltimore? Let me take a look at this.
Is it in Baltimore?
The game for Sunday.
Oh, I got you. It is at Pittsburgh.
All right, so at Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh this year at home, 4-2. Ravens on the road, 2-4, but the Ravens are undefeated in the division. So
Yeah.
we'll see what happens in that game. Basically, the Ravens lose, then they're fighting for the wild card. They got to stay up there. So, and then the AFC South, mind blowing what's going on there. First off, Jaguars, I hate you. I hate you. If the Jaguars had beaten the Texans this week, and then Texans go and lose to Cincinnati,
Yeah.
all the Titans had to do would have won this week, and that would have been it.
Well, look, it's not over yet. So
No, you got Texans and Titans tied at 8-6. If whatever one of those teams went out, they'll win the division. That's pretty much what that comes down to. Tennessee has to win out to win the division. There is no losing to the Jags. If you lose the Jags, then the Texans have to lose.
Right.
And then the Colts have to lose. It's a complete that division is a complete mess.
Well, look, the Titans probably are going to win against the Jags, right? But it's a division game, and anything can happen in a division game. But like you said, they've got to win out.
For the Texans and Titans is the Colts got to play the Raiders, so that's what's good for them.
Honestly, I think it's going to come down to the last game,
Yeah.
week 17.
And I tell you what, as a Titans fan, whether we win the division or not, hell of a year for them. What
Hell
a
yeah.
turnaround.
Yeah.
Back-to-back years where you had 2 years ago you had the number 2 pick, last year you had the number 1 pick, and now you're fighting for a division. You have a very young team, and you literally, if you would have told me beginning of the season, Titans were going to beat the Broncos and Chiefs back-to-back weeks, I would have told you were nuts, you're out of your mind. What are you smoking?
Yeah.
Because
I mean,
Snoop Dogg wants that.
I was gonna say just this past week was a pretty good indication of how the season is going. I mean, they were losing. They were losing to the Chiefs, and they stuck in there. They hung in there. They fought to the last minute. A little bit of luck with Andy Reid calling the timeout the last second with the
Yes.
field goal being missed, and then
But what about
gave
going
him
for
another
2
chance.
instead of trying to tie the game?
Yeah,
Gutsy call. It's funny. They interviewed all the offensive players. Went over and said, "We want to go for it."
right.
He turned to Dick LeBeau. Dick LeBeau said, "We'll get it back. If you don't get it, we'll get it back for you." And sure enough, 3 and out. They got the ball
Right.
back. And
Drove down the field.
Mariota is on his way to be a top 10 quarterback in this league. If not, he's not already there. I think he's proven it.
He's still young. I think he needs some more weapons though. I mean,
Yeah,
I
he
think
is. But he's on his way to be a top 10 quarterback. Him and Winston, subtract what happened to Luck and RG3 their first year. Luck and Winston are probably one of the best 1-2 punch out of the draft we've had in a while in terms of young quarterbacks.
as of right now, it looks like it. Yeah.
Yeah.
As of right now, they've got really bright futures where they are right now.
Yeah. Okay, so we got the AFC West. We have Oakland, 11-3. They've already locked up. They've just clinched the berth. But you got Kansas City there at 10-4. Denver's 8-6. I think they're out of the division picture. So you have Oakland, Kansas
Yeah.
City. It depends on what happens with Kansas City this week. I think Oakland is basically, I think, is a lock to beat Indianapolis. It'd be a shocker if they didn't win. And then they have Denver the final week. So Denver could finish the season.
The Colts are fighting for their life, so
We'll see what happens there.
they're going to come out swinging. It's not an automatic win for the Chiefs.
I got it for you. But
Yeah.
so Oakland, you take care of Kansas City, you got the division, and you got the first round bye. That's what the Oakland's got it. Not what am I? Sorry, Oakland. If you take care of
Indianapolis.
the Colts and then get some help from the Broncos, it's your division. It's your first round bye. Now, if you beat also, I mean, if they win this week, first round bye, awesome for the Raiders. So we'll see what happens there. Let's move, and then where do we begin with the wild card for the AFC?
Yeah, there's a lot of teams in the hunt.
Right now, Kansas City's sitting really pretty at 10-4.
Yeah.
They should make the wild card. But then you got a 9-5 Dolphins team. You got an 8-6 Ravens, 8-6 Titans,
8-6
Broncos, 7-7 Bills, 7-7 Colts. All from 7-11 are all in there. So got to see what happens there. A lot of scenarios are going to need to happen. Too many. I'm sorry, I'm going to say this, fans. Too many to go over on a show. You'll need a whole 1-hour show for that.
Yeah.
All right.
I think the hardest road for the wild card team right now has to be the Dolphins. Matt Moore had a great game this past week against the Jets, but just think about what we just said. He had a great game against the Jets.
You got to play Buffalo, which is no matter how good you are, Buffalo plays their division tough.
Really tough. I mean, Rex Ryan apparently is on the hot seat, but those players, they play for Rex Ryan. You know, they love him. I think he's a player's coach. But definitely they've got to play a tough Bills at New York and against the Patriots in the final week of the season. So, I mean, the Patriots probably will have everything locked up. You know, maybe they'll rest their players. But still, it's going to be a tough road for them to make it, especially with the Ravens, Titans, and Broncos nipping at their butts.
Yep. Now we move on to the NFC side of this. So we have the Dallas Cowboys. They've locked up the first round bye, but they have not locked up the division. They're 12-2. You got the Giants sitting at 10-4. So just one win for the Cowboys, and they're in. They got the division wrapped up. They'll get the first round.
I think they need one more win for the first round bye.
And home field advantage.
Yeah.
So home field, first round bye is on the line for them this week. Giants 10-4. I think the Giants pretty much have locked up a playoff spot. There's no reason they shouldn't get one. Then we'll discuss the Redskins when it comes to that right now. They're 7-6-1. That tie is going to come back to bite them in the butt.
It certainly will.
Then the North, you got the Lions at 9-5, Packers 8-6, and you got the Vikings at 7-7.
7-7.
Vikings started off 5-0, and then just started downhill. Packers have won 4 in a row. The last time the Packers lost, I believe, was to the Redskins when they had those back-to-back performances against the Skins and the Titans, were pitiful, and then something clicked. And the problem with this Packers team, when they start clicking, it's trouble for everyone else.
Yeah.
And I believe they play the Lions in Week 17, so that could be for the division as well. There's going to be a lot of meaningful games in Week 17. And
back-to-back division games, Vikings and Lions. Basically, if they win out, they're in, I think.
Yep.
Which is doable. The Vikings right
is.
now are beatable. The Lions this past week against the Giants didn't score a touchdown. So it's definitely feasible for them to win out and basically win the division. I think it's possible.
Yep. I think either way, I think 2 teams are coming out of the North and 2 teams are coming out of the East. Either way.
Okay.
In my opinion. But that's just my opinion. Let's move down to the South.
Okay.
That division's still wide open. You got the Falcons at 9-5. You have the Buccaneers at 8-6. I mean, like I said, Falcons. Let's see. Give me a second, everyone.
Their remaining schedule?
That's why I'm looking at the Falcons' remaining schedule.
At Panthers and then against the Saints at home.
Now, see, the Panthers game, they look pretty good against the Redskins. It's also these division games. That's 2 back-to-back division games. So.
Yep.
Against also a high-scoring New Orleans offense, so you got to hunker down there. So, I mean, there's no easy games for the Falcons. This is not you're not going to weasel your way into the playoffs.
I mean, technically, at the moment, the Saints and the Panthers are still in the hunt. Technically.
Well, here's the funny thing: the Tampa Bay's remaining schedule is those opponents flipped.
Yeah.
So those 2 teams can play spoiler.
Yeah, they certainly can.
But if Atlanta can win one of them, they're pretty much in. They'll get in based off of division. Actually, take that back. They're both 3-1 in the division.
Yeah.
But Atlanta right now has the better conference record. I believe that's what it goes off of the Nets.
Mm.
And then NFC West, Seattle already have the division. They're locked up, so you pretty much you don't even have to talk about that.
Right.
Here's a funny thing for the Giants. They could finish with the second best record in this conference and have to go on the road in the first round. That's crazy.
Yep.
That's crazy for them.
That's just the NFC East right now. We're actually doing really, really well. At one point, we were the only division that did not have a losing record. So just
the Eagles
just think
started
of that.
bombing everything.
Yeah, I mean, look, they got a rookie quarterback. They have 0 wide receiver help there, so it was bound to happen.
They're where
we
Marcus
projected,
was last year with the Titans, with no wide receiver help.
Yeah, and we thought they were going to go 4-12. I mean, they're not too far off that, so we at least got that pick right in terms of them ending up in the last place of that division.
All right, so that's our playoff wrap-up. Next week, hopefully we'll have a better... Actually, we probably won't. We'll probably still be talking about the same matchups, but next week we'll preview all those matchups and pick our winners.
Remove a couple teams from mathematically are going to be eliminated. I think. Yeah.
All right.
But it's still this is almost pretty much wide open. I mean, you're going to need the next 2 games to figure out exactly who in the world is going to end up in the playoffs.
Yep.
So I guess since we're here, we might as well just say, who do you think makes the wild card spots in the AFC and the NFC?
Oh, you're killing me here because I just moved off of it.
Well, you were just saying you think 2 NFC East and 2 NFC.
I think
North
it's going to be the
right?
Giants and either Green Bay or Detroit.
So basically, you're saying the playoff picture right now for the NFC is not going to change. Just maybe rankings, but it's going to be the same 6 teams. Because right now the Packers and Lions and the Giants are all in.
Yep,
in
I'm going to say with that. And if we're going an AFC wild card, I'm going to say the Chiefs are still going to hold on to it.
Right.
And I'm going to go with... I'm going to say Tennessee pulls out the division and Baltimore gets the wild card.
Okay.
Actually, you know what? Oh, God, dude, this is ridiculous.
It's tough. I'm going to agree with you in terms of the AFC. I think the Titans end up winning the division. I think the Titans can definitely beat the Jaguars. And the last game of the season against the Texans, I mean, Texans with Savage, I don't trust them. I really just don't trust them. They have a solid running game. They got a pretty decent defense, but I think the Titans can pull it out.
People over here seeing me sweat right now. I'm going to go with, I'm going to say, I'm going to change. I'm going to go Kansas City and Miami, only
Okay.
because the Ravens, they got Pittsburgh and then Cincinnati. Those are two tough games. And Miami, they do have the Patriots in the final week, but I feel like they'll probably be resting some players. So unless they want to spoil Miami's playoff chances just to
Right.
be Bill Belichick, which I would not put by him, I'm going to say Miami squeezes in there. Miami and Kansas City.
Okay. I'm gonna say
One for
Kansas
Jose.
City.
There you go.
I'm gonna say Kansas City stays.
Mhm.
They definitely stay. I think the Titans end up taking the division from the Texans.
It's hard. This one's hard, isn't it?
Yeah. Now it comes down to Dolphins or.
Do you realize the two Super Bowl teams last year will not be in the playoffs? Maybe. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't think the Dolphins stay in. I really don't. If they win against the Bills this week and the Patriots win and they've got everything locked up, then they may just pull it out. But I'm going to say, oh man, this is tough. I'm going to say the Ravens somehow sneak in there.
All right.
Yeah. I think they can sneak in there. Yeah.
Okay. Well, there we go. We got our predictions, and we'll see if they change next week. We'll have to take a look.
Yep.
Tennessee may get the trap game and lose this week.
Do you remember? I was
Huh?
going to say, do you remember your Super Bowl picks from the very first show? You remember?
I know I had the Patriots.
I was going to say, I think we all had the Patriots, didn't we?
We did. Coach had the Cardinals, I believe, didn't he?
I know I had the Cardinals. I'm pretty sure I had the Cardinals.
I have to go take a look. I
Was
had
Card-
the Packers.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it was the Cardinals or Packers I think I had in there.
I had Packers.
Yeah.
Coach had. God, who did Coach have? I think
Did he have
the
Carolina?
That's right, he did. He had,
Carolina. I think I had the Cardinals.
and I had the
think
Packers.
You had the Packers. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm still alive. Woohoo!
Still alive, technically.
After, you know what? For next week's show, I'll go. Actually, you know what? Not next week. The week after, when we start getting the playoffs,
Once
I'll go
we get
back and
back-
take a look like what we did for the baseball.
All right, cool.
All right. So, playoff talk. Let's move on to the Redskins. Terrible Tuesday, right? In DC. Is that what they
terrible.
called it on the radio this morning, Paul? Terrible Tuesday.
That's probably what it was.
So
Cuckoo
let's just
Tuesday.
take a quick. Oh, jeez, man, I don't even know what. Whew. Let's look at the stat line real quick for the Redskins. Kurt, 32 for 47, 315 yards, 1 interception, 0 touchdowns. That's a big one. 0. Rob Kelly, 9 carries for 8 yards, 1 touch. They ran the ball 13 times.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get into that after
Your
this.
leading rusher was who?
Kirk Cousins.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get into that after this. We'll do the Deshaun, 7 receptions, 11 yards. Woohoo! Love it, Deshaun. Get all those balls, man. Yeah. And then you got Jordan Reed at the bottom. Got thrown out of the game. Okay, let's first talk about Reed. He should not, I repeat, should not have been in this game from the get-go. He should have been scratched. If you saw him in the third quarter before he got ejected, first he took a hard hit on the shoulder and first off, he tripped on a play and fell on his shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
The one that was already hurt got back up and was just like hanging there.
Right.
Caught the ball, got drilled in the shoulder again, and it looked like it was just hanging there. Like
Right.
it was just hanging there. Stayed in, and then that's when they hit him again on the shoulder. And I guess he got a little tipped off, grabbed the player by the collar that hit him, and the player was like, whacking at him, and people were like, what about he was hitting Reed? I think all three can agree that if someone's grabbing you by the collar and holding on, you're going to want to try to get off. You're not going to let someone just hold you, correct?
Yeah.
Your reaction is going to be to hit, and I think Reed got pissed because he was hitting Reed's
Hello?
shoulder. I don't think he was intentionally trying to hurt Reed by hitting that shoulder, though, trying to get off of him. It was probably just a reaction.
Right.
But then the dumbest thing an NFL player can do, he squared up and punched the guy in the face mask. First off, what are you going to do hitting the guy in the helmet?
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Reed,
What are you
What
thinking?
are you going to do?
Yeah, how's that
What are you going to do? Not even an
what does
MMA
that
fighter
do?
would do any damage to that, or a boxer.
Yeah.
And then there he goes. And when he went, a lot of people's fantasy championships went right out the window with him.
Mm-hmm.
So that he should not have been playing to begin with. And then the rushing game. Carolina ran the ball 33 times.
148 yards.
13 attempts. Why do they go away from the running game when it struggles in the beginning? You can't do that. How do you wear out a defense, Chris?
You got to run the ball on
You
them.
keep pounding it. If you go away from it, what do you think Carolina's going to do? They're going to just drop back.
Yeah.
Six or eight DBs and not even give you any respect. I don't understand. This is the Redskins. This is how they always operate. They'll do the run early. If it doesn't work, Kurt, go chug the ball up 50 games. You're not going to win that way, man. And that
Well,
puts too
here's the
much
deal,
pressure on Cousins.
To start the third quarter, I mean, we were in a huge hole in the third quarter. It was 23-9.
Oh, that sack fumble, whatever,
Yeah.
the 1 yard line? Yeah, that
Yeah.
was a killer.
I mean, at that point, you kind of do have to get away from the run because you need to get points as quickly as possible at that point. And then once it's closer, then I can see getting back into the balance. But what would you say is one of the main reasons we lost? What do you think? If you
The
could
main
just
reason,
just one player, maybe not one player, but one reason.
I'm going to go with the defense, man. It's the
Yeah.
defense. You cannot ask your offense week in and week out to put up 30 points because you're going to have those games like tonight where they struggle and your defense got to shut them down. One example, I'm going to bring up my team. They allowed 14 points in the first half to the Kansas City. Kansas City got 3 in the second half. That was it. They shut them down. The Redskins, you got to learn to do that, man. When it's a low-scoring game and your offense is struggling, you got to put same for this week for New Orleans, New England.
Mhm.
Brady started off 0-7.
Yeah.
The defense allowed them to win that game, and you can go back to the Broncos last year when Manny was struggling. Who won them the Super Bowl? The defense. This defense is horrible, and I'm going to go on record and say this, and I'm going to get crucified. Ryan Kerrigan, to me, is the most overrated player on that team.
Really?
I think he's overrated. Yeah,
Wow.
boo me. I don't care. Do you want me to tell you why, I guess?
Go ahead. Yeah.
All right, this is my problem with Kerrigan. Pass rush, good, great. Run pursuit, he's god awful. He over pursues. He doesn't know where to go on the run. Last night, I think there was a one where they had Stewart in the backfield going left, and he cut right, and Kerrigan cut underneath. Like, where are you going, man? You got to hold that outside. You got to make sure he doesn't have a cutback lane. And he got sucked into the action and didn't hold his outside containment that Stewart ran off, and the dude can't tackle. I don't know what his problem is. He can't bring down a quarterback. Like, dude, you're 270. The quarterback is like 220. Why
Well,
can't
Cam is a big guy.
Okay, we're not even talking about Cam. Previous weeks, how many times have we seen him get a hold of a quarterback and they've gotten off? Even you have to admit that we've seen that a lot from him. Kerrigan could week in and week out, year in and year out, be a 15-plus sack man if he can just finish a sack. Like, he's great at getting to the quarterback. He's great at making the move, but he can't finish. He's not a finisher.
Well, I mean, he's got 11 sacks this year. I mean, he's in double-digit sacks.
He does, but he could have more.
Yeah, but I don't think
I
we
just
can
think
question.
he has room to improvement, and I think people are making him seem like the best thing ever on this defense, and he's not.
Well, I think probably Chris Breaker is probably our best defensive lineman in terms of run and pass.
Because when you
pass
watch
rush,
Baker, he knows when to not lose his containment.
Right. But
Kerrigan's
I
got to
don't-
learn that. He's on sixth gear the entire time. I know you want the guy running full throttle, but sometimes you got to think like, okay, if he cuts back, I need to hold my containment. Because if you're going to the left side and you're on the right, 9 times out of 10, you're not going to be a part of that play at the end. You need to be able to save your containment because as soon as you get sucked in, look, Stewart, gone, bounced out.
Well, I think that's something that can be coached, and if you want to call him up, definitely call him up. Let him know, hey, you got to coach him on, staying in your gap, staying in
I'll
your
do that.
assignment.
Give me Joe Barry's number.
Yeah, do it. But I don't think Ryan Kerrigan is the worst player on this
I
team.
never said he was. I just said I think he's a little overrated.
Well, could he do more? Of course he can. Of course he can do more.
my
But
opinion.
I don't think you can question his motor. I don't think you can question, the fact that he is getting to the quarterback. Even if he's not causing a sack, he's at least putting pressure and at least, getting hits, getting knocks, getting in his head, so to speak. So I don't know if he might be overrated in terms of money maybe, but for me, going back to my initial question, which was one of the reasons why we lost.
And I said the defense.
You did say the defense, and I agree with you, but I think it has to do more about the offense this week because we only gave up 26 points. I mean, that's a lot in the NFL terms right now, but technically you got to average at least one touchdown a quarter. We need at least 28 points to win a game, I think. And if we had gotten 28 points, we would have won this game. But I think it comes down to third down efficiency. We were 2 for, what was it, 2 for 15 or 2 for 12?
Let me go to that.
Yeah, I think it was 2 for 12, if I remember correctly. But basically, that also comes down to drops. We probably had at least
third down. Yeah, you're right. 2 for 12. But Carolina was 4 for 15, so it's not like they were any better.
So more specifically, then, is the drops. There were some key third down drops by Garcon, by Deshaun Jackson.
At the end, Vernon Davis had a walk-in touchdown.
Vernon Davis had a walk-in touchdown in a goal-to-go situation. I mean, I guess more specifically, then I could go to drops. Vernon Davis has had a pretty good comeback season, but this probably was his worst game. Just looking at that drop, looking at some missed assignments, which caused a fumble, a sack fumble. But I think drops is one of the key reasons as to why we lost.
But do you think they need to stay to the running game a little bit more? Just 13 carries? I mean, even if you're down maybe like a touchdown or whatnot, which is what they were until the end, you can still run the ball.
We were down 16 points.
At the end, yes. I'm talking about like the first, like the beginning. I don't know, like.
But here's the deal.
I still just think 13 rushing yards or 13 carries is just ridiculous still, to me.
I think this has to do more with the flow of the game this week. I think that's just how it went. They put it all on Cousins this week because we were down, and unfortunately there were some drops and there were some key things that were missed. I think a lot of it has to do with the offensive line and as well. I think Kirk Cousins was getting pressured and maybe releasing the ball too early and disguising their coverages where Kirk Cousins thought it was a cover 2 and ended up being a cover 3. The safety came out of nowhere and picked that one ball off. So I think it was a lot of different things. I wouldn't blame it on just the defense.
It's just so many things that go around here. And first off, all you Skin fans that after this game who were backing Kurt and now are saying, off with his head, get rid of him, just shut up. Kurt's
I wouldn't
a
put this on
franchise
Kurt.
quarterback. You can't get rid of him. You can't start over.
I wouldn't put this on Kurt. I really
No,
wouldn't.
you can't. Well, people want to.
Yeah.
Now, who you can't put this on, Joe Barry, got to go. The defense has been horrible, but also you ain't got a good middle linebacker. No middle linebackers.
Yeah.
And your safeties suck.
Yeah.
Actually, take that back. The whole secondary besides Norman sucked. Breeland, dude, you were supposed to be like a top guy last year.
I was gonna say you were talking all about Breeland all offseason.
And then
saying, you were saying, "Oh, Breeland can shut down Des Bryant."
He was last year though. He was shutting them down, and then maybe it got to his head. I don't know. Maybe he needs to do what David Amerson did, leave, and he'll become a star.
Maybe.
That's crazy about David Amerson. He was horrible here. Now look at him.
It seems to be that's the trend. Just
look
leave
at
the Redskins.
He's having a good year in Tennessee again.
I mean, Andre Roberts is doing pretty well for the Raiders. I mean,
when Ryan Clark left, when Brandon Lloyd left, I mean, it's a trend. Carlos Rogers.
Well,
couldn't catch a cold, but when he went to the 49ers, led the league in interceptions.
I was going to say, let's just look. The season isn't over yet. We had the opportunity, if we could just win the next 3 games, take it one game at a time, we had the opportunity to basically control our own destiny. Now we need help. But the season isn't over. I'm not done. I'm not done in terms of saying I'm not writing this team off, which was one of your first questions. I don't think we're done and out yet. I think it's going to come down to Week 17, which is something that I said from the very beginning. Now, I thought it was going to come down to Week 17 for the winner of our division, but now it's Week 17 basically fighting for a playoff life.
Yep. So We'll keep looking at that. We'll keep that going. But just an ugly, ugly game last night. If you're a
Yeah.
Skins fan,
I guess
it
I'm
was
not
just-
so upset that I missed it then. So.
yeah, I think yeah. For me, on the other hand, it was a great game.
Yeah, right?
Yep. Thank you,
Well,
Kurt. Thank you for throwing to Jatson the entire time.
Yep. Look, Jackson was a bright spot. I mean, he did have a pretty key drop, but he did come through and get some really key some key
Some of those
receptions.
catches he made were
Yeah, the
crazy.
toe tapping on the sideline. I mean, I don't think anyone can deny his ability. It's just I think we got to figure out a way to get him the ball more. I don't think it has to be a home run every game. If we can maybe just get him a screen and just let him get in the open, or even just a crossing route. Get him, catch him in stride, get him in space, let him do his thing. I think that's definitely something we got to work on.
And also, if Reed is not healthy 100%, don't risk
Right.
further injury. I'm sorry. You got Vernon Davis.
Hmm.
Sit Reed. I know you're fighting for a playoff spot, but don't risk this guy's career at all. I'm sure we both can agree with that, correct?
Yeah, and let me ask you, does that bring you back to when RG3 was hurt in that game, and
They kept him
basically
in.
he said, I'm good, I can play, like let me play,
He's an idiot.
and Shanahan let him play basically. Do you think that has to do with the coaching? The coaching staff basically.
I think
giving
it's the
too much
coaching
stress to the
staff. It's
players?
the coaching staff because you got to know, even if a guy's hurt, you got to force him out. You got to say, look, you got to come out. The coaching, the trainer should go up and be like, he doesn't look right.
Yeah,
And
no player is gonna say in the heat of the moment. No player is
they're
gonna
not.
say, you know
That's
what?
why it's the responsibility of the coaches to look at these things.
Yeah.
Someone up in the booth should have been like, hey, look, man, I just saw on the monitor, Reed ain't moving his arm.
Yeah.
Got to get him out of there.
That
That's
could
what
be
the
the
people
doctors
up
too.
in the booth are because they're not just looking at the field, they have cameras with them.
Right.
They got to be able to see that and be like, hey, Gruden, he ain't moving his right arm. Get him out. You got to get him out of there now.
Yeah.
So
I think it has to do. I think you're right. I think a lot of it has to do with coaching. I think they got to be able to talk to the trainers, or the trainers have to speak up more. I don't know exactly who's it on, but I think the coach has to make whatever the best decision is for the team. And if your player's hurt and can't and is more of a detriment to the team than a help, then you got to sit him.
Yep. All right, so that's our Redskins talk of the week. Hopefully next week we have something better to say. Unfortunately, the Bears are no easy task. You saw they've been playing teams
Saw that
strong the
last
past
week.
couple weeks.
We saw that this past week against the Packers. I mean,
Yep.
they overcame, I think, a 10 or 17 point deficit to tie the
Yep.
game, and
Thank God
know?
for Jordy Nelson. You want to hear something funny? The Redskins, I was talking about this today with someone, Josh Dotson, hurt.
Yeah.
I go back and I look at the draft of when they got the two wide receivers in the second round that were always hurt, Malcolm Kelly and Devin Johnson. Was it Devin? Yeah, Devin Thompson. I'm sorry, Devin Thompson.
okay.
You know who was drafted after Devin Thompson was drafted?
Who?
Jordy Nelson,
Really?
Deshaun Jackson.
Wow.
You look at that and it's like, man, the Skins picked this guy and could have had like Nelson or Deshaun. It's crazy.
That's actually wild. I didn't know that.
Before we go, did you catch the hit on Cam Newton in the beginning of the game?
Oh yeah, I did.
Was that a flag? And
Yes.
second
I
off,
think
was that a
I think it
flag?
was a flag.
First, is it a flag? Second off, did Newton did what he did out of frustration?
Yeah, he knows he got hit in the head. Like, you feel that as a quarterback.
Do you think that was what he did was out of frustration?
Of course. Yeah, he threw the ball at him, saying, like, come on, dude, like, what the hell?
And then he gets
but
flagged. Those should have been offsetting penalties, first of all.
If the flag was called, it would have been offsetting penalties.
Actually, sitting last night and watching that game with Cam, I can honestly say he doesn't get the calls. If that's Brady, Rodgers, anyone else, that's a 15-yard penalty and a first down.
Here's the deal. I think it was a relatively soft penalty. I could see where, he didn't really go for his head. He was kind of just diving over him, and his head happened to get in the way.
Do you think
But-
another quarterback gets the call?
I was going to say, if you're going to go by the letter of the law, then it's a penalty.
Okay, but you're not answering. Does another quarterback get that call?
I think another ref would call it, regardless of who the
Okay,
player is.
But do you think they let hits on Cam go a little bit more than other quarterbacks?
I haven't seen enough footage to say yes or no, but I think you got to look at it if it's so much talk. If there's so much talk around the NFL, around the social media and everything, then you got to look at it.
Mhm.
You got to look at it.
All right.
And I think didn't Cam get a sit down? Was he supposed to get a sit down?
He did
with
get a
Dodgers?
sit down, but it seems
He
like
did, right?
maybe it doesn't seem like anything changed.
Right.
I guess
But yeah,
Goodell's basically
I
saying
agree
"F you."
that should have been a penalty. I agree. By the letter of the law, it was a penalty. It would have been a soft penalty, but it's
And
you
the
know,
fact
he hit
that
him in
it's
the
right
head.
in front of the refs, and he's just sitting there just looking at it.
It was right in front of the ref, and I'm pretty sure 95% of the people, when they saw the ref throw the flag, it was going to be.
Well,
for
so did Cam.
hit.
You saw him;
Yeah.
he was like clapping. He was like, "All right."
Yeah, he's like,
And
I
then
finally
he
got a
called on-
call.
But the thing for me is when I saw it, I knew it was on Cam because he didn't throw it till Cam threw the ball.
Yeah.
So, all right. So that's our Redskins talk for the week. We'll get back to it next week. Talk about where they're at. Either they're going to be fighting for a spot, or it's going to be over with, and we're going to start looking ahead to the preseason.
Yeah.
So let's get to the last topic I want to talk about: college football playoffs. I'm going to bring this up with you. So this past year, a lot of controversy. Penn State got left out. They won. So I had a proposed idea, which I talked about with several coworkers today, and they all liked it. But I want you to play the devil's advocate, as you always do every single week that we're on the show.
That's right. That's my job. That's what I get paid for.
You increase it, yeah, you get paid in Reese's Peanut Butter Cups.
Oh, I like those. I'll take it.
So you increase the playoff team to 6. You give the first 2 people a bye, and the first set of games, December 23rd, December 24th, Christmas Eve games. Why not? I think it'd be kind of cool.
And then you get a week.
And then you get a week, and then you play the 1 and 2 seed. They finally, after their bye week, you play New Year's Eve, and then you go to the championship game a week later, like what they do now. The top 4 teams, including 1 and 2, are conference championship winners. And then the 5 and the 6 seed are your wild card. The reason I say 4, I'm not counting the Big 12 right now because they do not have a conference championship game. So, I like this idea because Penn State this year would be in. That controversy would be over with. Michigan would be in. And my second reasoning for this is it would force the Big 12 to get a conference title game because as of right now, they are going to be looking at the outside in every single year because these other 4 big conferences have a title game. Chris, what do you think about this idea? Or if you don't like the idea of the top 4, what do you think about moving it to 6 teams instead of 4 and giving
here's the
those
deal.
number 1 and 2 seed a bye week?
Here's the deal. I like the initial thought of having 6 teams, having the first 2 teams get a bye. Because that way you're fighting for something. You're fighting for that bye week. You're fighting for that extra time to basically get ready for the next round. I like that. But I don't like the top 4 teams being a conference championship teams because by the way
Virginia Tech would have won or something like that.
Yeah, and essentially what you want as a committee member and even as a fan, you want the best teams to be in there, regardless of whether they won their division or not. And that's like Ohio State basically. I don't think you can deny that they're a top 4 team, right?
This
Yeah.
is Phil.
I mean, and if
If
by
Phil
your
were a
rule
telemarketer,
they wouldn't be a top 4 team.
All right. So now here we go. The thing I like though about my idea is that's what those 2 wild cards are for that Ohio State would be in as a wild card and probably would have been Michigan. And then Penn State would get in where they deserve. Now, let's say Virginia Tech wins. Clemson still is probably going to be a wild card team along Ohio State. Michigan still gets left out because, obviously they didn't have the better record. They didn't beat Ohio State, obviously, in that last game. But I feel like I think a 6-team playoff should work. Whether you do the top 4 idea, it's up for grabs. But the only reason I like the top 4 idea is because it forces the Big 12 to finally push for those championships.
Well, I mean, I guess if you think of it that way, I agree with you there.
Then top 5 and 1 wild card.
But here's the deal. So, like you said, if Virginia wins, right? Virginia Tech. If they win, who gets knocked out?
you know what? Then you got to debate because obviously Ohio State will be in it. The last spot would be between Clemson and Michigan. So there you go. Cool. Another controversy, but you know what?
But again, you're kicking out a team that is better than the conference
Virginia
winner.
Tech. I get what you're saying.
And I don't really agree with that as a fan, and I'm pretty sure the committee members wouldn't agree with you there either. But
Okay.
I do agree. I do like the idea of having a top 6, having the first 2 get a bye. But I mean, it would be kind of weird. How would it work out again in terms of the scheduling?
Okay. Well, the 1-2 would get a bye, and then the 2 other games would play around this time, 23rd, 24th of December.
Okay.
Boom. Then the following week, you finally get the semifinal games on New Year's Eve,
Okay.
like you want, because basically that's a week from now.
Right.
And then after that, you do the national title
week
game
later.
a week later. Yep, there you go.
When's the last bowl game right now? When's the championship game? When's the national championship game?
I think it's like the 8th or the 7th or something like that.
So it's about the same timeline then.
That's why I went off of when the national championship
Right.
is. See what I did there?
Yeah. Well,
Look at
I like
smart.
it. I like it. I like the top 6 teams. I think that would definitely add a lot more, excitement. The top 4 is pretty exciting. The fact that they're doing a playoff now is actually pretty cool. But
And
I
first
think
off, get rid of some of these damn bowl games, man. There's way too many now. Some of these teams that are in it should not be in it. And give me a day. All right, so I'm looking at the days of bowl games. On the 30th, you have 5 games. The 31st, you have
Thanks.
4. The 2nd, you have 4 because they can't do New Year's Day this year because of the NFL. Can I get a day where I can get 8 or 10 bowl games where it starts at 11 o'clock and it's just boom, 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 boom? I want like a game. I want a day where there's like sometimes you got to overstack games. They used to do that on New Year's Day. Games would overlap. Now they don't
well,
because they space
it's-
them out too damn much.
How are you doing, by the way, in the bowl?
I am in second. All of us, I believe, are in second at 3
We're
and
behind
5.
somebody, right? We're behind
Julius is in 4 and 5.
Julius.
Yep, 4 out of 6.
Well, there's a lot more bowl games to go,
Yeah.
so I'm not counting myself out yet.
So I think that's going to wrap it up today. We had a pretty good long episode today.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, it was
Paul,
long.
Anthony, he said hi in the chat, so thank you, Anthony.
Hey, what's going on, Anthony? I didn't even have the chat open
I
this
saw
time.
Anthony wrote best podcast ever. He wrote Anthony. We will not do Skip Bayless, where we would post Skip love the new show.
Oh, yeah.
He got caught.
He got caught. He got caught.
So
He
Paul,
definitely
I'll let you
got
take it away.
Wait, what happened?
Skip wrote on his Facebook page, Skip, love the new show on FS1. It made it sound like he had another Twitter account and
Right.
forgot to change it, so he said that to himself.
So he got busted.
Yeah.
He got busted. He did. That's what it looks like.
Well, great show, guys. You
Or
guys
maybe
did
he was
awesome.
trying to retweet something and he just didn't do it right, but it's definitely a little suspicious.
Yeah. No, he got busted for sure. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Of course, if you're watching on YouTube or on Facebook, go ahead and subscribe. Join all our social media. You can do that. Twitter at Shipe Sports Talk, Facebook /Shipe Sports Talk, and Gmail ShipeSportsTalk at gmail.com. There's plenty of different ways to get in touch with us. Plenty of different ways to stay on top of what's going on at SST. And every time if you sign up, if you subscribe or follow, you won't miss a thing. Promise.
Whoa, breaking news real quick. Can I hold you off there for a second? They just
All right.
announced the Pro Bowls where Kerrigan, Brandon Sheriff, Jordan Reed, and Trent Williams have all been selected to the Pro Bowls.
Yeah.
And who was overrated again?
Yeah. Well, of course. And then your alternatives are Cousins, Norman, and Crowder are alternatives.
Wow.
So sorry, Paul, for cutting you off. Just a little
think-
breaking thing there.
I think Crowder should definitely be a special teams.
I think
Special
Norman
teams
should have
in
been
there.
in it.
I think Crowder has the second best return average.
Wow, and my team for the first we have 5 players going. It's been a while since we've had that.
Who you got going?
We have Casey, our defensive end. Arakbo's back in the Pro Bowl. DeMarco Murray, Lewan, and Delaney Walker.
All right.
It's awesome. All right, sorry, Paul. And our alternatives are Mariota, Coughlin, who's the rookie tackle, and Fowler, our fullback. Sorry, Paul. Go ahead.
I'm done.
Yeah, that was
done?
it. You caught him right at the end.
That's awesome, man. Good for Tennessee, man. 5 Pro Bowlers. It's been a while since we've had that.
Well, they had a good year, so
Yep.
what can you say?
Anthony, sorry you weren't here, buddy. We saw you in the chat room. Thanks for coming on. Paul, as always, thank you
We'll
for
see you
being a
next
great producer. We appreciate you week in and week out.
Right on.
And everyone, Merry Christmas from the Shipe Sports Talk Show. I know for myself, Anthony, Chris, and Paul, thank you for another great year. Hope you guys have an amazing holiday. If you're traveling, stay safe. Remember, I'm gonna put this out there for Christmas Eve on Saturday. Don't drink and drive. Don't do it. Don't do it all. Get an Uber, get a Lyft, get a taxi, do whatever you gotta do. Chris, anything before we head out?
No, you're right. Merry Christmas, happy holidays. We'll be back next week. I can't wait. These are one of the most exciting times of the season, playoff time. And it's not often, at least in the recent history, that we get to say we have a chance to get in the playoffs. And whenever we have a chance, it's really exciting.
Especially for both our teams.
Yeah.
So, we have a happy holiday, Christmas. Enjoy your evening. Thank you for listening, and have a great holiday again. Thank you, everyone.
See ya.
Good night, guys.
Coming for the belt.
It's an awesome belt, man.
# comeback in semifinals.